So you've clicked on the video, and I'm sure you are one of two types of people. You're either a super fan of Shenmue, eager to convince us all why we should care about the cult classic franchise, or you're like me, someone who has absolutely no knowledge whatsoever other than the hype surrounding it over the years, and are interested to learn more. With the release of Shenmue 3, a game which was never supposed to happen if it wasn't for the loyal fans backing the game on Kickstarter, I thought now would be the perfect time to do some research, gather some opinions, and perhaps it may create an incentive for some of us to pick up all three games. If you're interested to know more about Shenmue, then this video was for you.
I'm looking for sailors who work with Chinese ships.
What are you, some kind of TV detective or something?
Back off.
You little punk. You looking for some of this?
So what exactly is Shenmue? I mean, the word Shenmue itself. Well, from a quick Google search, I still have no clue. Most people seem to believe it is simply the name of a tree which appears in the intro of both the first and second installments, and again later in the second game. It translates roughly as spirit tree. What that means in relation to the game, not many people actually know, but there are of course numerous opinions. Is it important to know? Not really, at least not right now. What we really want to know is what kind of game is Shenmue in terms of gameplay. The most straightforward description of the genre I could find was an action-adventure with social simulation. But for a better review, here comes Wikipedia to the rescue. The games consist of an open world, which include brawler battles and quick-time events. There are also elements of role-playing, real-life simulation, such as day and night system, variable weather effects, non-player characters with daily schedules, and interactive elements such as vending machines, arcades, and minigames. The story follows the teenage martial artist Ryo Hazuki as he travels through 1980s Japan and China in pursuit of his father's killer. Did someone say the 80s? That's it. I must have this game. Explore various open world locations, search for clues, examine objects, and talk to non-player characters for information. The game features a 3D fighting system similar to Sega's Virtua Fighter series. Ryo can fight multiple opponents at once and can practice moves to increase their power. The game series was created, produced, and directed by Yu Suzuki. Talk about taking all the credit. Both of the original games were developed and published by Sega for the Dreamcast in 1999 and 2001 respectively. Shenmue 2 was then ported to Xbox in 2002, and now we have Shenmue 3, which was developed by Suzuki's company YesNet for PlayStation 4 and PC. Okay, so what we know so far is that they are open world games dated as far back as the early 90s. Open world games have evolved considerably over the years, with games like GTA and Red Dead Redemption setting the bar for quality. The question is, can its world still hold up with today's standards? There's no question that it contains a very carefully crafted world, with its inhabitants each having their very own routines, as opposed to just standing around in the same spot for the entire day. You could say this feature was quite revolutionary for its time, and I'm sure many modern games don't and won't go to these lengths of effort to make their worlds feel as alive. So credit to Shenmue there. Quick-time events are sure to split opinion. I don't mind them much, as long as there's more to the game, instead of a lazy excuse to paper over the fact that there's no other combat or interactive gameplay. One of the things which I knew about the game beforehand was the sheer size of its budget. The original Shenmue was the most expensive video game ever developed at the time, with an estimated production and marketing cost of $47 to $70 million. Despite attracting positive reviews and a cult following, the games were commercial failures, and further installments entered development hell. To have spent that amount of money on a game only for it to become a commercial failure must have been the worst feeling in the world for Sega. I'm no expert on the Dreamcast, but it seems as if the console itself wasn't a success either, which ultimately led to the demise of Sega as a console manufacturer. If the Dreamcast had been a success, I can only wonder if the fortunes of Shenmue would have been greatly improved as a result. The game certainly wouldn't have appealed to everyone, but it perhaps would have sold more, with people such as myself who had a PS2 instead and therefore missed out. Based on the overall reception of the games, both then and looking back, they have received mostly positive reviews, with both games appearing in several greatest video games of all time lists. Shenmue is credited for pioneering several game technologies. Its large environments, wealth of options, and level of detail have been compared to later open world games, including the Grand Theft Auto series. One game which I have played and was clearly inspired by Shenmue were the Yakuza games. Yakuza is all about exploring an open world, talking with its inhabitants, brawling, and playing a wide range of minigames and activities. Sounds a lot like Shenmue, huh? I really enjoyed Yakuza 0 in particular, which is also set in the 80s. That gives me hope that I will enjoy Shenmue if it's anything like Yakuza. Shenmue is also credited for naming and popularising the QuickTime event in modern games, including the Resident Evil, God of War, and Tomb Raider series. So, if you dislike them, then you have Shenmue to thank. Focusing on the reviews at that time, both games received incredible scores, with a quick glance on Metacritic displaying almost an average of 90 for each. Both games were re-released in HD for the PS4 and Xbox One, receiving a more modest average score of 75. These versions were classed as great for die-hard fans and a good enough introduction for newcomers, although not for everyone. This set up the latest installment of Shenmue 3 perfectly. It kept the nostalgia alive, with fans desperately anticipating the long-awaited sequel, whilst gathering as many new fans as it could. If it is to win any of us over, however, we need to go into it realising that we are playing an old and potentially dated game. It would also help if you have patience to play games other than shooting and running around like a maniac. Many people, including myself, would have been watching closely at the reviews for Shenmue 3, unsure exactly what type of game it would be. Would we see a modern version of Shenmue, taking everything that made it great, whilst adding new and exciting elements? Or would it be the same game as if it were released in the early 2000s? From looking at many reviews, it has completely divided everyone, but most seem to be in agreement that the game is good if you can accept the dated style and presentation. You're basically getting a continuation of the franchise in not only the story, but the gameplay too. Most modern gamers and newcomers simply won't accept that. It makes it almost essential that you play the original games, otherwise you'll have little to no interest in even picking up the new game. There's also the matter of the budget, which, if you compare the Kickstarter fund with the vast majority of money they had at their disposal in the 90s, it doesn't even come close to scratching the surface. I can't say exactly how much the lack of budget hindered the production of Shenmue 3, but it's safe to assume that perhaps that could have been one of the reasons why they didn't expand or experiment and instead chose to stick with what they knew worked. Having researched and analysed as much as I could, without getting too specific with what actually happens in the game, I have to say that I am intrigued. Yes, it may not be a game which I can truly appreciate after all of these years, but it is something that I would like to at least gain a taste of and experience as much as I can. The Yakuza games may well be a better, modern alternative, but it can't hurt to give them a go. What are your impressions of Shenmue? If you are a fan, why should we care and take a chance on these games? No doubt you'll be able to share more and discuss in the comments. That's all for today's gaming video. Let us know your opinions in the comments below. We would greatly appreciate a like, and subscribe if you're new to the channel as we bring you more gaming topics, plus an assortment of original animations and full coverage of PS4 title Dreams.
You stupid!
That's enough. You put on quite a show, boy. I'm looking for info about a Chinese cartel.
I'll tell you.
What?
In return, you don't show your face here again.
Okay.
Click to view a collection of our current animations or watch one of our latest videos. You can also subscribe by clicking on our red imp. See you in the next gaming video.